Show, and joining us on the phone this morning, Ted Vigil, who's going to be doing his John Denver tribute show, two shows only here on Saturday, February 19th. Ted, thanks for spending a few minutes here with us.
Oh, it's great to be with you today.
Well, Ted, I gotta say, for the last couple weeks, all of us have been, I think, New Mexico-ifying your last name. Because we all been calling you Ted Vigil because we see Vigil and we think Vigil down here in New Mexico parts. And then when I got your voicemail saying it was Ted Vigil, I was like, oh, well, we've been New Mexico-ifying his name. So if a lot of people call you Ted Vigil around here, don't be offended.
I was just in Colorado doing a show yesterday or day before yesterday, and that's what everybody called me, Mr. Vigil. So that is it. That there's two pronunciations, but I'll take either one.
As long as I call you on time for the supper table, right?
That's right.
Perfect. So I guess we'll start here at the beginning. So how did when you got into music, was it because of John Denver, or did that come later? And then, were you always into music as a musician, and then people started telling you, hey, you kind of look like John Denver and sound like John Denver, or was it John Denver from the get-go for you?
Well, back to the beginning. When I was a small boy, I just decided that I needed to be a drummer. So I started pulling all the pots and pans out of the cupboard and making my own little drum set. And so after I had beat everything in the kitchen, my parents said maybe we should get him a drum set. So I played drums all through school, jazz band, marching band, stage band, and then I joined a rock band when I was in my teens.
Okay.
And I was the lead singer and the drummer. So that's how it started. I always loved music. Later on in life, I started picking up the guitar a little bit, and because I loved to sing and I wanted to be able to accompany myself. I got married and had kids, and all the music kind of went on the back burner. And then I went to Laughlin, Nevada. After my kids grew up, I wanted to get back into music, and I went down there and I entered this contest. It was an international singing contest. I qualified in Washington State, and they flew me down there. I was one of the finalists. And that's where I sang a John Denver song, met a couple people that knew him personally, and worked with him. And they said, man, you look so much like John. It's creepy, and your voice is very similar. So have you ever thought about doing a tribute show? I said, well, I'm more of a rock and roller, but, I don't know. Anything's possible.
Sure.
And, man, I couldn't stop the ball from rolling once it started.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it started for me.
Kind of like when you say drummer and then musician, all I think of is a Dave Grohl-esque type, of course, Dave Grohl kind of got famous in Nirvana as the drummer, and now Foo Fighters, starting his own band, music songwriter. He's gone on to do much bigger than that. But, yeah, kind of the same thing where your drums got you into it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I still love my drums. Still play my drums once in a while.
So what's what I can imagine being a lead singer from a drum set. I mean, because it's all about breath control and everything with singing. But as far as physical exertion, I can imagine the drums are probably that instrument. That's got to be tricky to pull off lead vocals and drumming at the same time.
It is something that you have to master your instrument so you don't even have to think about it.
Gotcha.
And then sing. I remember when I first started doing it, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years of playing 4 or 5, 6 hours a day, every day, then it just becomes natural. You don't even have to think about it anymore.
Probably makes you better at both.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes you better at both there. So when people started telling you, hey, you kind of look and sound like John Denver, I mean, was he, like, from there, did it kind of force you to say, you know what, I need to take a deeper dive into the life of John Denver, or were you pretty well versed on it, before you decided to make the tribute show and do what you're doing here?
Well, when I first started doing the tribute show, I actually was not a guitar player. I was a drummer.
Okay.
I did tracks. I played the tracks for most of the show. And then some of the songs I would play, I learned a few chords And then my wife's like, if you're going to keep doing this, you really got to learn how to play that guitar. And so I really had to dive into that. And then I got to work with Steve Weisberg, who was John's lead guitar player from 1973 to 77. And he helped me tremendously learning all those guitar licks, Rocky Mountain High. And that's very difficult to play that and sing that at the same time. That took me a lot of hours.
Gotcha.
But I did dive into the life of John. I did go to Aspen, and I went to the Memorial Park, and I went to Windstar when Windstar was still going, and I did get to sing for his mother, Irma, and I got to meet his brother Ron.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got to learn a lot about John as a person,
Okay.
and I was really amazed at what an amazing human being he was, and how much he did for other people, and how much he gave.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, his impact on the world probably was as much off stage as it was on stage,
Yeah, certainly. The Foundation Windstar, where he helped to develop solar power and wind power way back in the day. His work with Jacques Cousteau and educating people about cleaning up the ocean way ahead of his time. All the things that he did for the vets. A lot of people don't know that he put a lot of money into doing camps for injured vets, people come back from war and missing limbs and legs. He had ski camps, and he did a lot for other people.
Sure.
World Hunger Project. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah. Well, you speaking of his support of vets, that kind of also, I would imagine, ties into his Roswell connection, which you're very aware of, and we've talked with a lot of people that live here that John Denver has a Roswell connection back when Walker Air Force Base was still here active. His father was stationed at that base, so their family spent time here back in that time, and so John Denver, can call Roswell home, and so, and I imagine because his father and had the military, kind of growing up as a brat, I'm sure that influenced his love of veterans and things like that too. So that kind of ties in with some more of the philanthropic side of him.
Yeah, certainly. The song that he wrote, This Old Guitar, he tells a story about how, because he had to move all the time being an Air Force brat, that the guitar helped him to make friends. He found that when he played the guitar and sang, people would come around and want to meet him and know him, and so it was a great thing for him to have that, and helped him develop as a young man.
Sure, and I imagine it helped him meet, because then they say a lot of guys learn guitar to meet women. That's kind of the rule of thumb.
Yeah, and that's one of the lines in the song. This old guitar gave me my lovely lady.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, does your time pretty much devoted to doing the John Denver tribute, or do you still get to kind of work on your own stuff, your rock and roll side of you?
I do both.
Okay.
I would say my touring schedule is very busy. So I've done a couple tours in Australia, 6-week tours with the Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson tribute.
Oh, wow.
They called it Kings of Country. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time on the road, but I still love my rock and roll. And in fact, I'm working on another record here. And I'm going down to Florida to do a few shows and meeting up with bass player and steel guitar player. And then I do start the project of working on an original record.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, then I got to ask this. Now that like you said, you grew up a rocker, and John Denver wasn't really, the style of music you were into. So let me ask you this. Now where you're at in your life, is it fair to say that whatever you produce now, you cannot help but have John Denver influence it a little bit?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that happened to me as a singer and as a person. These songs, Back Home Again, Annie's song, Sunshine on My Shoulders, Thank God I'm a Country Boy, Rocky Mountain High.
Mm-hmm.
These songs have become my mantra, and they're good songs about real life experiences, and it's really changed my life. And as far as singing, singing rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it's kind of, like for instance, I did Led Zeppelin, The Who, Rush, those kind of artists. And there's a lot of screaming. It's not just, not necessarily just screaming, but rock and roll as far as that goes, Robert Plant.
Sure,
a lot of
sure.
that stuff is. But learning to sing like John and have that voice control and really put a lot of emotion into the songs, put your heart into it, I think it made me a much better singer.
And then just his ability to do that and make it look effortless, if that's the, you know what I mean? Some singers, like you can tell they're working. Other singers are working, but it looks like it's a breeze for them. And I always felt like John Denver was that kind. You know what I mean? Just
oh, certainly.
Yeah, he just could whip this out of his hat. No, like it's with effortless. Where I'm sure that's not the case, but he's very good at making it look that way.
Yeah, it's. I think that he just had such a great natural ability. Some people are just born to be singers.
Sure.
And it's just in their soul, and I believe that about John for sure.
Sure. So I got to ask, with doing the tribute show, now do you feel like you have to look a certain way all the time now to keep with that, or do you get? Is it kind of like your own personal life? How much does that impact your own personal life as far as because anytime you play someone else and people see you, they expect a certain thing, and it's easy to almost lose your own identity in that sometimes. Does that impact you personally in any way like that?
Oh boy, does it ever! I have to tell you this, but I'll go to the grocery store and I'll have my beanie hat on and in my sweatpants, and I'm out jogging, and people, did anybody ever tell you look like John Denver?
No, never.
It never stops. But I get, and people say, doesn't that bother you? It doesn't. I don't really mind at all because, it's what I do.
Sure.
I love my job. It's not like, I spend an hour putting makeup on and trying to look like this person. And the two guys that I toured with in Australia, they spend at least 30, 40 minutes doing hair and makeup and, trying to look.
Sure.
I just don't have to do that.
That's awesome.
They say everybody in the universe has a doppelganger, somebody that they look like. There's somebody out there that looks just like you, and so I just came this way. Well, did you get did you have to, do some plastic surgery, or how did you, no, I didn't.
I just put on a flannel and a hat and some glasses, and here I am.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's because I when I saw the promotional poster for the event here, and I just thought it was John Denver, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's not John Denver. I just assumed, they got a picture of John Denver here, and then I nope, that's not John. That's dead.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It's all over the internet too, and people call me, hey, did you see this on the internet? They're selling T-shirts with your face on it, and it says John Denver. I'm like, oh, not again. And, people say, you have to stop this. This isn't right. I'm like, how? I don't have any control over what people do.
Sure.
I put my face on a record and sell it. Bootleggers. It's all over the internet.
Yeah, man.
And I'll contact them. I'll say, hey, you're gonna have to, obviously you're not hooked up with Charlie Music, John's Estate, so you need to stop.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I don't want people, because people are like, oh, I just bought your shirt. It's so cool. I'm like, that's not. No, I'm not selling that. That's not me. No.
Sure.
Yeah.
Running out of time, but I do want to ask one more question here before we remind everybody again. Like you said, you've met with some of the family and talked to them. Did you feel like you had to get like a blessing from them, or did they give you one? Was there any of that where they kind of, like give you the nod of like, yes, you can be John? Was there any of those kind of moments where it felt like that you had to like be that for them, or was like interacting with the family? How was that? How was that taken? How was their interaction with you, and how you were with them?
They were very warm.
Yeah.
They were very inviting. And I think the biggest compliment I got was from one of John's uncles. and Abe, and he said, I really appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, keeping John's memory alive.
Awesome.
Playing
Okay.
his music. These songs really hit the heart, and people miss him, and they enjoy going back in time and reliving good memories.
Good.
And that's what I bring.
I'm awesome. I was glad because sometimes it could go either way. Where if especially we lost him at such a young age and things, and so I didn't know if like seeing you brought up memories they weren't ready to relive again. Sometimes, you know what I mean. You never know. Sometimes when you come across people, whether they're still grieving or you know what I mean. So I'm glad to see that they kind of embrace that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had one lady come to me after the show, and she said, I haven't listened to John Denver since he passed until I came to see your show. She said, I needed to break that bondage, whatever. And she said, and she was just crying and said, thank you for what you do. And I feel like there was some healing that happened. So I know a lot of people grieved his death, and still.
Sure.
I mean, he was very young, very much loved, and I think will be all through time because good songs never die.
Absolutely. And but you also wonder too is I think maybe the fact that of his untimely death cemented him that much harder, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's because now we know we're never going to get anything of this caliber again. We need to cherish it more. Therefore, it makes him more revered. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I definitely believe that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, Ted, I do appreciate you spending some time with us here. Don't forget, show's coming up here February 19th. It's one night or one day only, two shows, 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. It's going to be at the Roswell Community Theater. Great news is this is a fundraising event. The Roswell Kiwanis Club and the Community Theater, the proceeds from the concert all will benefit, half will benefit the Kiwanis Club. They're using that money to build an all-inclusive park, the first one here in Roswell. And then the Community Theater, they gotta pay to fix that roof above their heads there. They've got some leaking issues and things, and it's not cheap to replace that big commercial building roof. So that's what the funds are going for. But they've got reserve seating is $30. You can also get the VIP experience for $40, which I would go ahead and do that because every seat in the theater is an amazing seat. You do get preferred seating with the VIP. That's not really the draw. What I think the draw would be is you kind of get access to the VIP room where they're going to have, drinks and snacks for you to visit. And during like an intermission, you can go in there and mingle and things. You do get to meet Ted prior to the show, and you can have a few minutes with Ted here before he goes on. That's all part of it, too. But get your tickets at roswelltheater.com, or you can call 575-513-8119. Ted, is there anything you wanted to mention before we let you get back to it?
I just want to say it's a really fun show. It's a family-oriented show. I typically get kids up on stage for Grandma's Feather Bed, and it's just a lot of fun.
Good.
So I'm really looking forward to getting to Roswell.
Be ready to have a good time and learn a little bit about John Denver as well. And like you said, bring the whole family. It's a family, fun, friendly show. And I think this is a great way to expose younger kids to the music of John Denver and really the history of music and getting them exposed to that. So bring them out. They're going to have a good time. Good deal. Well, Ted, appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you here on the 19th.
Sounds great. Sounds good.
Awesome.
There you go. Mike Winters and Mr. Ted Vigil going to be performing live this Saturday with two shows, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. at the Roswell Community Little Theater. Get your tickets now. $30 reserved, $40 VIP. Get those tickets by calling 575-513-8119. That's 575-513-8119.